Hey everyone, welcome to my show, My So-Called Fabulous. Welcome everyone. It is so good to talk to you, and you are watching me on YouTube. Follow along if you have not subscribed, but welcome to the show, and I am so excited. You have to tune in and watch us because this will be a good one. I have back for oh my goodness, is this the fourth time?
Fourth time.
Eek! Okay. Henry Abuto is in my studio. Welcome.
I am here. Thank you so much for having me again.
Oh my gosh, it's so good to see you again.
It is good to see you.
You know, I just adore you.
Aww.
And you are my friend.
Yes.
Thank you.
You are my friend. The feeling is mutual. So.
I know. No, it's so great. Well, thank you. And you were here. Let me give y'all a rundown because I want you to go back to episode number 61. This is episode 140-ish. To episode 61, it was back in 2021. You came on with your friend Tony Green.
I did.
Friend. We recorded about 2 hours is what we did, but it's so good.
We had a good conversation.
We did. And it was the first time I met y'all.
Yeah.
And it was just a lot. It was during a volatile time in the world. It was just a crazy, coming through it. We went through COVID. We're still going through COVID, aren't we?
I'm over it.
I know. Somebody just told me they had COVID yesterday. I mean, I know.
Yeah.
We are over it, air quotes. But then you came back with on episode 73, Better Not Bitter.
Yes.
And you and John, and help me out here. I can't remember.
John McDonald.
Yes.
And
look at us. We can't even remember.
No. Coach Walker wasn't there.
Yeah, Coach Walker. There was another gentleman there. Maybe.
Oh, yes. Jackson. What's his last name is Jackson. And
yes.
Yep.
So we were promoting the documentary.
This is my story. Yeah.
This is my story about 3 Black men and their story. And it was just incredible talking. And, as a white woman, 58 years old, I've grown up and I've seen so much. And it was really interesting to see a perspective and hopefully to open the hearts and minds of so many of our community.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a great episode. That spurred a lot of dialogue. So that was probably a highlight for me of that year was sitting with you and just having that dialogue with us on the panel. Yeah.
Then you came back a couple of weeks later and we talked with Devin Goodman. You were the storyteller in the documentary. And then Kathleen Kubra with Amphibian State
Productions. Yeah.
Oh, I know. And Andrew is in the corner, our producer. He sometimes works, right? You work with Amphibian.
Yeah, with her specifically.
I love that. Yeah, Kathleen's great.
Isn't she great?
Amazing.
So she was on the show. So Andrew's over there on occasion as well. So
awesome.
That was just great. Just learning how you selected the people for that show, for the documentary. And it was just, you and many of my Black friends have opened my eyes. Not that I needed a big awakening, but you really have on
just
so many topics.
Shift, yeah.
Exactly. And changed my life.
Aw, thank you.
Don't you agree that that's the question should be asked?
Yes, it's like how can we interact with people in a meaningful way that spurs us to change and spurs us to think and act?
Do you think we're changing?
I think so. And so especially we even said it we touched on it in that, I think it was the second episode I was on, 73, with our culture's changing and specifically people in Kennedy, your daughter's generation. I look at them, I'm just so proud of them. Oh my gosh, I have chills just even saying it.
Right.
They are not taking anything and they're just so fierce and so bold. And I think they're watching us and they're learning from us. And I think they're taking the good and the bad. They're just like, nope, we're done with this. And I love it. So.
I know it is a different. And when Kennedy was in high school, and I told you this with Kathleen and Devin, I was so proud of that. I am so proud of that generation. Kennedy in high school, just, it was just amazing because they are forcing change and accepting and pushing forward. And it makes you feel good.
It's inspiring.
It's inspiring.
Yeah,
That's the exact words. Okay. You can go back and really listen in the 2 hours that we podcast back on episode number 61. But Henry, tell us what you do. You're a storyteller. You're from Kenya.
Yeah.
But you're here now. You're
I
a
am
Texan,
here.
right?
Texas is home. Fort Worth is home. I was just telling someone this morning, I have lots and lots of deep pride and love for the 817 here in Fort Worth. So,
Do you?
Yeah. My name is Henry Abuto. I am originally from Kenya. Fort Worth, Texas is home here in the States. I am 33 now. I know, it's crazy. I met you when I know. But
Gosh.
yes, I'm 33 and I own and operate an event planning and catering company known as By Wasonga. Wasonga is my middle name, so I just kind of did something lazy and creative there. When I'm not doing that, I am an avid lover of dinner parties, listening to music, running, all things Texas, all things Beyonce. And I tend to find myself in teaching and speaking engagements either on race, sexuality, Christianity, and just the intersection of those things as they intersect in my life. And other than that, I enjoy being at home, hanging out with my dog, and cooking. So
Bishop
is my dog.
Bishop,
a beautiful
fabulous.
pit bull pup. Yeah.
I know. So sweet. So you were telling me if you follow Henry on Instagram, it's pretty funny because he gave Bishop a bath here
a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, about a month ago. Yeah.
About a month ago, and he's enlightening me. Every time I see Henry, he enlightens me a little bit more about Black culture. And
Yes.
I'm like, what are you talking about? But he was giving Bishop a bath, and Bishop was quite dirty, and he was saying,
"It's only been a couple of weeks. I bathe her regularly."
I mean, and so you were saying, don't let your dog sleep
on
in
your
bed,
furniture and your beds. I don't understand how people do it. Your dogs do not belong in your bed, in your sheets. Like, this is a hill I will die on. Bury me on this hill.
Because I swear, Lala's my first and only. She's 6. She sleeps in our bed, but she has her little pad.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, she gets up in my sheets on occasion. You're just disgusted by me, aren't you?
Well, first of all, no, let me tell you why. I've always said if I I don't even know if I'd have another dog after Bishop because she's 3, so I'm probably going to have her for another 12 years. It's such a long time to think about. But Tiffany has turf at her house, and that's the way to go with the dog. The dog's not bringing grass in your house. The dog's not bringing dirt in your house. And your dog is on the smaller side of dogs. So it's like, I can handle a small dog.
Yeah.
The Bishop is 75 pounds, loves rolling around in the dirt and the grass all day long. And I just, checking that into my house, I just can't handle it.
So funny. Okay. And you said Black people don't.
Black people do not do pets on furniture for the most part.
Do you know how many Black people are going to just let us have us on this?
I know. Because I do know Black people that have pets on their furniture. And I'm like, I don't want to claim y'all right now.
Oh my gosh. You're so funny. Oh my gosh. Well, okay. So all you pet owners, you can make that decision. But
I get
go back
grief
and look.
for it.
I bet you do. I bet you do. Well, we are so excited that you have you've come this far because I have talked about on the podcast before health issues, and I'm actually getting more and more into that because health is priceless. Health is freaking priceless.
You can't afford to not be healthy.
You can't. And I always say, Henry, you have one body.
Oh, like you have, and that's the thing is, you have one body and one life. And so take care of it and be a good steward of it.
Right. Because I really do see, and I know youth, but I see a lot of youth that takes care of their body. My daughter takes care of her body. And I hope I've been a good example for her.
Oh, for sure. With your 5 a.m. workouts.
I have to. But even though, and we're going to talk about your heart, even though I take care of my body, last year was the worst year for my health. I mean, to tell you, I didn't know so many parts could break on me. I mean,
all at once, right?
All at once, menopause and all the things that it just leads to. So anyway, it's hard to really wrap my arms around this when people don't take care of their body. And I know affordable health care and health care, it's so expensive.
There's so many barriers,
Oh my gosh, there's so many barriers. However, your heart. Tell us about your heart.
Yeah, so thank you for having me to talk about this. This is a topic that is very near and dear to my physical heart and my emotional heart in the sense. And we are having this conversation during Heart Health Month, which is February, the month of February.
Yes.
And it's also Black History Month. And
That's right. I tell you. I mean, I'm just with two podcasts.
We got lots to talk about.
That's right.
And so my heart, I am a 33-year-old now. Well, yeah, I'm 33. Healthy man. I've been a runner all my life. I've been an athlete all my life. I ran in high school and college. Like, I've never had like a bad diet. I've never like abused drugs. I drank in college probably more than compared to most college students. Yeah, I probabby drank about as much people do in college.
You're a lumberjack.
Yeah, a lumberjack.
We have that in common. Yes, my first year. I know.
Yes. Axum, yes.
Henry went to Stephen F. Austin in Nacogdoches.
I did.
Nowhere.
Yes, Tiffany went there for a year and left quickly. She did the smart thing.
Gotta go to TCU.
Yes.
Go for
My parents went to TCU and they still have not let me forget it. That I did
right?
not.
You stayed purple though.
Oh yeah, purple. Yeah. So, but about as you know, but your listeners don't, maybe some of them might not, but 2 years ago, in October 2021, I went into, a year and a half ago, I went into SCA, sudden cardiac arrest, and my heart stopped. I was sitting on a stool very much like I am now. I was eating banana pudding and drinking a bottle of water. It was 5 p.m. on a Saturday. And so I had my phone in my right hand and I was eating, because I'm left-handed, with my left hand. And I was at a friend's house and I was laughing because they thought so I was watching a video. And so they thought I was laughing at the video, but what I was actually doing was gasping for air. I couldn't breathe. So I was just doing that. And then I just fell off the stool and fell over and my heart just stopped out of nowhere. 1 minute I was having a conversation, having a good time. The next minute, my heart just stopped. And so I was down for 14 minutes without oxygen. Yeah, you're normally brain dead after 6 to 8 without oxygen. And,
so many questions.
I know. It's just a miracle we're having this conversation. It is a miracle that we're having this conversation. And luckily, there was a friend of mine. I'd called her a couple of minutes before, like, hey, girl, come get a plate of food. She's like, no, I'm tired. I want to go home. We're like, no, just pack up a plate to go. You don't have to stay. Right? And so Samantha walks in, and she walked in at 5:26. I went down at 5:30. She happened to be a nurse, and she had happened to just that day she was teaching CPR certification classes. And so it was just fresh on her mind. So she jumped into action, performed CPR for 14 minutes. CPR is so labor intensive that they tell you to rotate after 2 minutes. And she did it for 14 minutes. Another person jumped in for a little bit for about 2-3 minutes, helped as well, my friend Christina. And the paramedics showed up, and I didn't have a heartbeat. I hadn't been getting oxygen. She got my blood flowing with CPR, but there was no oxygen to my brain. And they brought me back. I had a pulse, and then I flatlined twice in the ambulance. So my heart stopped again. So I had a heart attack, 2 of them in the ambulance. And then I had 3 more at the ICU at Methodist in Dallas. Yeah. And then from there, they intubated me. They put me in a medically induced coma. I was in a coma from a Saturday, October 26th through Tuesday, the 29th. So for 3 days, I was in a coma. I was unresponsive to stimuli the Sunday and Monday, and they didn't really know if I was going to make it out of the woods. And they were preparing my sister, hey, Henry's not going to make it. My brothers had come in from out of town. All my friends were gathering. My pastor, a dear friend, was planning funeral. Do I have to write Henry's eulogy? Do I come in from New York? My parents were trying to make arrangements. We were trying to contact the embassy to get my parents here from Kenya. So I'm about to start crying. Oh, Lord.
So I could bring my tissue out just in case.
And my siblings were in the hospital parking lot trying to decide, what are we going to do with his body? My parents were like, inside.
What?
And so it's just so many crazy things were going on. And then on that Monday night, I started responding to stimuli. My sister asked me to squeeze her hand. I have a twin sister and we're very close. And I squeezed her hand and I started coming to. And then that Tuesday I got extubated. Monday night got extubated so I could breathe on my own off the ventilator. And Tuesday afternoon I woke up and yeah. And then as you know, I mean, just from following along, just you and I texting throughout that whole ordeal, it's been a whirlwind. And those first, I was in the hospital for 11 days and they didn't know if I could walk. They were like, he might not be able to walk again, talk, feed himself, write. They had no idea what was going to happen. And I was, they got me out of bed that Thursday. So 2 days after I woke up for physical therapy, I walked down the hallway and back and they were like, oh, okay, he can walk.
Okay.
And at one point in time, I was writing something that had me sign some consent forms. Not that I was awake and could consent to things myself. And the doctor was like, oh, don't worry, your handwriting, it might take a little while to get better. And I was like, nope, I've always had crappy handwriting. And if you can see, my handwriting is, I was like, no.
Oh, good
And
grief.
then they just laughed. And my sister was like, okay, my brother's back. If he's making jokes, like Henry's back.
Of course, of course. Okay, I want to ask you.
Yeah, that was a lot of information.
That's a lot of information, but I do want to ask you because I'm curious if many people are thinking what I'm thinking. When you're in a coma, do you remember anything?
No. And because you're not really asleep. So it's like in between being asleep and awake. So you're not asleep in the sense that like when you lay down at night, you're asleep and you're kind of out and you have dreams and stuff like that. Your body's in a state of limbo and your brain's in a state of limbo. And that also lowered my body temperature. I had cooling blankets all over me to give my body. So they basically stopped all my organs, like besides my heart and my brain, to give my body a chance to recover. And it's wild. But I feel like I remember being wheeled into ICU and I remember feeling warm and I remember lots of voices around me and that's about it. Next thing I know, my last coherent memories, I'm eating banana pudding and then I wake up and I have no idea why I'm in the hospital 3 days later.
Days later.
Yeah.
And how long was it?
3 days. And so your short-term memory, what most people don't know, your short-term memory is wiped when you go into a coma. And so every 20 minutes, my brother kept calling me Dory from Finding Nemo because I would forget things. I'd have to like, hey, what happened? Why am I here? What's going on? Can you tell me? And my poor sister, so she would have to relive her trauma and fill me in every 20 minutes or every hour. So she eventually wrote it down on a notepad. And so I could just read it. And I would just read it and cry all over again, like realizing what happened. And
so, Henry, what happens to, and I'm asking you, neither one of us are physicians. So, and he's going from experience. I'm just asking questions you might ask. So you don't remember anything. Could you hear anyone? I mean, was it like you couldn't
silence.
Hear and somebody said, squeeze my hand and you.
And then so she asked, so my sister asked, can he hear me? She said, technically he can since he's not asleep, really. Wow. But so many people, you see that in the movies, like, if you can hear me, squeeze my hand, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then so I don't remember hearing her, but apparently I did. And so I don't remember hearing my sister. I know the prompt was, if you can hear me, squeeze my hand. And I squeezed her hand. So it's crazy. Isn't it fascinating what the human body can do?
Fascinating.
Yeah.
But when you finally did squeeze your sister's hand, you heard her then. At that time, you were coming out?
Once I came to. I remember opening my eyes and seeing my sister, and then my college roommate was sitting on the other side of my bed. And so I remember that. But but it was like the things that happened, like even that Saturday, my timeline was so weird. And like about the month before was wiped. And there's parts of my memory from that time period that I don't have back that probably won't come back. The very small parts, but I don't remember a lot of details from that. So.
Do you recall that Saturday? Did it hurt?
No, but what's interesting, they say that when people have a heart attack, they most often have an impending sense of doom, like something bad is about to happen. And I do remember I walked out of my house and I was getting in my car to drive to Dallas. I was getting in my rental truck. And I remember looking back at my front door and thinking, this might be the last time I do this for a while.
What?
I remember thinking that. Like, it's so strange. I remember thinking that. And but on that, the pain, I didn't feel any pain like when it happened. I don't remember if I did. I don't remember it. And because it's like different from a heart attack. So sudden cardiac arrest, SCA, your heart just stops. A heart attack is like you feel constricting, tightness, breathing, maybe shooting pains up and down your left arm, the typical symptoms that are associated with a heart attack. And I don't really remember feeling any pain. And in that moment,
I'm drawing a correlation, and I apologize because I've lost brain cells. But the football player, the young
Damar
man,
Hamlin, yes, and so
is that what happened to him?
That's exactly so. Oh. My, Tiffany, it was so insane watching that happen to Mr. Hamlin because all of a sudden I got to watch what all y'all went through, my friends and loved ones did in real time with. His heart stopped. Like the exact same thing happened when SCA. He was down. I think his was 10 or 12 minutes. Someone performed CPR right away. He was intubated and put in a coma for exactly 3 days. The same timeline that mine was happening. And so I've never prayed that much for a stranger, and I've never cried that much for a stranger than I did for Damar Hamlin. Because like I felt like I was reliving and finally getting to see what my own trauma had been. And yeah, sudden cardiac arrest, it's not as common, but like for just the country to see that happen on national television and just to watch his recovery and that whole timeline. And I was just like, I knew what his doctors were going through. I knew what his family members were going through. I knew what he was going through, not in the sense that I'm not him, but like the exact same experience. Yeah, I felt it so deeply for him. And I am just so encouraged and so happy that he's making a recovery.
Let me ask you this. So you're an athlete. So runner, long distance, short distance,
long distance. Yeah, I've been, my whole life. So
Mr. Hamlin as well is an athlete.
He's 24.
Obviously.
He's young, healthy, in great shape. Yeah.
He's Kennedy's age, my daughter's age. Okay. So he didn't have any markers.
No, like you would not think it happens to you, right?
I mean, and he works out like, he was playing football.
He's a professional football player.
For sure. So,
and he gets physicals all the time. He sees doctors regularly. So it's not like he's someone who hasn't been to a doctor or anything, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And heart disease and then SCA, they're linked, but they're different. So sudden cardiac arrest, you can go into sudden cardiac arrest for a number of reasons. His happened to be he got hit. The impact happened just at the right place at the right time in the right break of his heartbeat and rhythm.
That happened?
Wild. Yeah. So that's what happened with him. The impact to his chest when he got tackled just happened to hit the right rhythm and the right beat at the right place.
But not with you. That didn't happen.
Mine was sudden cardiac arrest. So I'd been in heart failure, which means my heart was not pumping blood throughout my body at the rate it should. And so it is measured on a scale of 0 to 75, how effectively your heart is pumping blood. It's not on a scale of 100. I don't know why. But most healthy adults function, your heart ejection fraction is between 55 to 75%. And that's considered completely normal and healthy. And mine was pumping at less than 8% when I went to an SCA. So my heart was literally hanging on, barely. I mean, my body was fighting and finally was like, I can't. I just have to give out. My heart just gave out. Yeah.
So did you have any warning signs throughout your life?
Looking back, it's so interesting, Tiffany, you mentioned that because as you were even mentioning about just aging and all of a sudden being a healthy person, but then maybe realizing, hey, my body isn't doing what it would normally used to do, or things are changing. And as you look back, it's like, have I been missing signs, or are there things I didn't know that paying attention to would have signaled or were pointing to this? And looking back, I can say that we're in 2023 now, and that happened in 2022. But looking back, I can look back to at least earliest 2019. And looking back, I was absolutely in heart failure for most of 2019, and I didn't know it. But because I was attributing my shortness of breath to, I'm just getting older. I haven't been running as much. I haven't been working out as much. Like I'm no longer in my 20s, or I was I'm no longer in my 20s. My body can't do what it used to do. I just need to take more rest. So I need to eat better, which are all true things that we should do all the time, regardless of our age. But, or man, there's a little bit of swelling in my legs. Maybe I just drank too much water, or And so swelling is a number one sign of one of the major signs of heart disease or heart failure if your body's retaining water. Or I'm having trouble breathing. I can't sleep. So I have to almost sleep propped up because laying down is painful. And, but I was attributing that to, I know my body, I'm young, I'm healthy, I eat right. Those are all true things, but it's sometimes you don't know. And what I've learned through that is listen to your body and pay attention to what your body's telling you, because no one knows your body better than you do. And yes, medical professionals are trained, but nobody knows hey, something is wrong with my body. Your body will tell you far before your brain even realizes it. Your body will be my body was trying to tell me that hey, something's not okay.
Right.
And I just didn't pay attention, didn't think it was important. I was too busy focused on work and all these things. And it's I'll deal with it. It's not that big of a deal. It's not that serious.
Sure.
And then you wake up out of a coma and you're So
I mean,
it was a little serious, right?
yeah. So when you had that, when you did have the aha moment, you weren't even the aha when you were in Colorado, right?
Yeah.
You thought it was the altitude, right?
Yes, I was texting Tiffany the other night. I couldn't sleep. And so I was going through my Instagram highlight reels for some reason. I found one from a 30th birthday trip that I took to Colorado. And one of the stories, I was saying in the story, y'all, I need to get back to Texas because this altitude in Colorado is killing me. I can't breathe. Google had me up till 3 a.m. convinced that I'm going into heart failure. I literally typed that 2 years before I even knew. And so it's just crazy that my body was like, something's wrong. For 2 years before I went in sudden cardiac arrest, my body was like, you are in heart failure. And they always say I don't Google things, but I was like, I should have probably followed those Google things and went to a doctor.
Do you know what? I just had a procedure actually this week, and I told my doctor before when we were going over what's going on with me. I told her, I said, the internet says, but I've been on this website. And she's like, stop, get off the internet.
Yes.
Stop it. Because it messes with your mind.
Oh, for sure. Get off Google. Go just see a doctor.
Just go to the source, people, because it scared the crap out of me.
Yeah.
So, but to our credit, we did go.
Yes.
Some people don't go.
Some people don't.
What is it about? Not you, but what is it about men that just won't go?
Oh, first of all, men are lazy. As a man, I can tell you that men are lazy.
Are y'all?
Men are babies. Men are scared. Men are scared. It's like, no, you try having a baby. That's hard.
Oh, come on,
but when men have colds, we act like it's the end of the world. We need to be mothered but women literally give birth and go back to work and do all sorts of crazy things. I mean, we just saw Rihanna perform in Super Bowl pregnant.
For sure.
A man was
suspended in the air, y'all.
Yes.
And most of the men are going, gosh, she's gained a little weight.
Yeah, it's come on, do half of what women and their bodies are doing and then let's talk. So
I know.
I think men just have a fear of not being in control and finding out bad news. And I have my brother drives me insane. I had to block his phone number at some point last year because he was just complaining about something, and he wouldn't go to the doctor. And I was like, you just saw what happened to me. Go to the doctor. And then it turns out he had an infection in his foot for months. Ooh. And he finally went. And I was like, you could have lost your foot.
Yeah.
But
it's a thing. I mean, and women do talk about that.
Yeah.
Greg Blackmon, let me tell you what, baby.
Do you have to push him to go?
He's a toddler. I'm telling you, I love him so much. Genevieve Blackmon, rest in peace. But what were you thinking, sister?
Oh, gosh.
But I love him. I love my husband. So, Henry, you were a candidate for a new heart.
I was. I woke up from the coma and they were like, you need a heart transplant as soon as possible. And that was the journey we started working towards.
So we don't have time in this show to talk about it, but I want to bring you back next week and talk about this because there's a lot of people in your position and you're going to explain that process, the financial burden that it creates, and so much more. Yeah. So everyone listen next week as we talk to Henry. And thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you, Precious.
Thank you for having me. I look forward to coming back next week.
Absolutely. Everyone follow along at Tiffany C. Blackmon on Instagram, Facebook. And hey, again, if you are not subscribe to my YouTube channel, please do so because you get to see all kind of fun stuff, the podcast and so much more. So everyone have a beautiful day and keep being fabulous.